Good afternoon. So good to see all of you. Beautiful day, isn't it? Nice and sunny. The Lord is with us. You may know that about a month ago, we installed a set of outdoor stations in my backyard at the rectory. Last summer, we had a couple of outdoor masses there. We have a beautiful statue of our Blessed Mother. So I figure that installing some stations will give more of a feel of an outdoor sanctuary. And it's beautiful. Actually, as a parish, we will have outdoor stations on the Saturday before Palm Sunday in the morning. You'll see more coming up in the bulletin. Now, due to the great amount of snow that we have had lately, I couldn't actually reach to the actual station, so I will pray them from a distance. I have a fire pit table outside, and with a nice cup of tea, it's awesome. But the last few days, the weather has been nicer, and one of the reasons why we install those stations is that the students from All Saints schools can also come and pray outside, and they can pray the Stations of the Cross. So the 5th graders came to pray the Stations of the Cross this past week. And it was beautiful, it was sunny, the snow had melted, so it was all good. And the first thing that they noticed is that a couple of stations were out of order. You know, we will normally have Jesus stripped of his garments, then he would be nailed to the cross, and then he would die on the cross. That's the normal order of the stations. These outdoor stations, however, they had Jesus dying on the cross first, and afterwards, him being crucified. They are not in order, Father Jose, out of the mouth of kids. This made me think that sometimes we just need a new set of eyes to point out when things are not in the right order. The readings of the third Sunday of Lent give us that third-party perspective, that new set of eyes that challenges us to put things in the right order. I think, for example, of the Gospel of today, you know, it happens at the temple. And let's face it, by the time that Jesus entered into that temple worship had been going on for 900 years. 900 years. Except for a break of about 50 years during the exile in Babylon, worship in the temple had been happening for almost 1,000 years. The Levites, the priests, the high priest, you know, they all had gotten temple worship down to a science. And Jesus suddenly comes in with a new set of eyes to make them realize that things were not in the right order. Take this out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace. Jesus is that new set of eyes that makes them realize that things are not in the right order. I think, for example, of the first reading, as Moses gives the Decalogue to the Israelites at Sinai, the Lord knew that the Israelites were constantly tempted on mixing up their priorities. They very quickly wanted to fall back into slavery. The comforts of Egypt were such great idols for them. It was easier for them to accept remaining as slaves in some familiar comfort or a safe space rather than venturing out to the freedom of the desert. It was easier for them to make their own gods than worshiping the one and true God. And so the 10 Commandments gives them, and us, of course, through Moses, the 10 Commandments became the parameter, the rule that will help the Israelites refocus their lives as they put things in the right order. God always first, and then neighbor. Even St. Paul, in the second reading to the community at Corinth, the first letter that he wrote to them, St. Paul does the same. Paul exposes that Jews and Greeks alike, they have their priorities mixed up. For Jews look for signs, and Greeks look for wisdom, he says. St. Paul right away professes that as a church, the priority number one, is proclaiming Christ and Him crucified. It is the crucifixion of Jesus that messes up the order of the establishment of Greeks and Jewish people alike. For the crucifixion of Jesus is a scandal for the Jewish people, and it is foolishness for the Greeks. It's fascinating to see that Paul, who was met by the risen Jesus on the way to Damascus, this same Paul does not first wave the flag of the resurrection. No, instead he keeps things in order. He emphasizes the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross as the highest expression of the power of God and as the highest expression of the wisdom of God, the crucified. Even some modern Catholics struggle with this, and I don't blame them. It's certainly easier to contemplate the glory of the risen Jesus as opposed to contemplating the suffering Christ. Nobody likes to suffer. Perhaps we are like contemporary St. Peter's who tell Jesus, God forbid, Lord, this is not going to happen to you. You are not going to suffer on a cross. It makes me feel better if you just stand glorious and risen. This certainly reveals that man's priorities are a little bit different than the priorities of God. God, therefore, comes to us as that independent set of eyes that helps us to see that we need to put things in the right order, in God's order. One last thought. Certainly God didn't cause it, but I think how God can even use the circumstances of this pandemic as a tool for us to rethink our priorities and to set things in the right order. Again, God always first, then family and friends, good health, work, and everything else is non-essential. It's not in the right order, Father, the fifth graders said. So thank you, fifth graders. Thank you for helping us notice what we adults could not see. Sometimes we need just that, innocent eyes like yours, to make us realize that we need to put things in the right order. Amen.